Hey, what is up, YouTube? Today we're going to be exploring a revisiting of one of my favorite Pokemon decks in the current 2025 and now 2025-2026 metagame, and Zoroark. We're going to be going over the deck list along as well as my thought process behind the deck, and some key considerations that I want to share with you guys. So stay tuned, guys. So before we begin, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. We're going to be we're going to be exploring the various decks that I am currently playing in the 2025-2026 season for Pokemon TCG. I want to start off with Zoroark because it's one of my favorite decks, and I've been messing with this the most. I'm probably one of the only two players in my local scene to actually play this consistently, and there's a reason for it. I just really like Zoroark, and I do have other decks, and I will showcase those pretty soon. I just wanted to showcase this one is because this is the deck that I've been working on the most and trying to figure out how to make it work in this current meta game. So before we get onto the deck list, I want to show the energy count. So we're playing 7 Darkness Energy. So you're gonna be noticing I'm not running Reversal Energy, and there's gonna be a reason why I don't run Darmanitan in this list. I do not run it anymore, and upon testing, I've realized that with this current metagame, you actually don't need it. It's a nice attacker, but for the fact that it takes up 2 potential slots that you could use to help better position yourself in your worst matchups, I decided to take it out in favor of playing a little bit more, like making this deck a little bit more consistent. So we'll start off with our Pokemon. So we're still running the 4/4 line of the Zorua with our boy the Zoroark. So if you guys are not familiar with this combination with Zoroark, it has the ability trade where you discard a card from your hand to draw 2. So it is essentially like a destiny draw, if you are familiar with that in Yu-Gi-Oh. And it stacks per copy, and it also has the attack Night Joker, which for 2 dark energies you can copy the attack of one of your Zoroark's End's Pokemon in the bench. So the main attacker that the main attack it borrows from is actually from this Pokemon. Let me move it to the side. So we run a 4/4 line of that. Is actually 3 copies of the End's Reshiram. So I decided to bump this to 3 is because we needed a consistent way of getting this out on bench, because once you get this out on bench, you can already start threatening attacks early game, and that's what you want to do. This deck likes to take like the initiative while also being able to play reactively. So this is one of those decks. It's very similar to Charizard, Dragapult, and to an extent not Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt's actually is a lot faster than this deck, but it's kind of like those stage 2 decks that like to play from behind, except with Zoroark you can actually play ahead because of the second attack, Virtuous Flames, which you get to do 170 and start like just taking big swings, and potentially even like getting 2-hit knockouts or even 1-hit knockouts with proper like positioning and proper damage placement with the Monkey Dory. So we play 3 of that. Sorry. And then I also play 1 Pheasantipity and 1 Blood Moon Ursaluna. The reason why I play the Blood Moon Ursaluna still is it's a great closer if you're playing from behind and you're trying to just end the game quickly. Again, this mic, I gotta get a new boom arm, because even though despite this mic being decently heavy, the arm likes to just creep up. So continuing on, we play 2 copies of Monkey Dory. So in my testing, I realized this card is actually really strong in the and Zoroark lists, being able to just move damage counters off the end Zoroark or even off your Pheasantipity if they try to soften it up for an easy one-hit KO, or even like your Reshiram if they're trying to clear it. You can just move off all those damage counters, soften up your opponent's Pokemon, and then just knock it out with Zoroark's either the powerful Rage or the Virtuous Flame. And then another tech Pokemon I'm playing is one Maractus. So Maractus has this ability, has the attack corner, which there are some times when your opponent will bench Pokemon that they don't want to get stranded in the active, and you can use Maractus to pretty much strand that Pokemon in the active to give yourself time to recover resources, as well as it's a good revenge trapper, because if they do knock out the Maractus, the Maractus will place 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon, which makes it even easier for Zoroark to go in and just knock it out quickly. So I play it there just not only to strand my opponent's like the Pokemon my opponent does not want in the active, and to give myself time, but it's also there just as a little puzzle for my opponent, because if they knock this out, they soften that attacking mon for my Zoroark to just come in and take the KO. And then lastly, for the Pokemon, I play one Badoo. We still need the item lock because it's really strong. And then now moving on to the trainers, I play 4 copies of Arven. I'm playing the Arven build because you have access to a lot of good tools and a lot of good items that this deck actually needs. So I know some builds have been playing the Serrano build, but I think actually moving forward post Black Bolt and White Flare, you actually kind of want to go into the Arven build because you want to take advantage of the items that can make Zoroark very tanky, as well as giving yourself room to push your game state. And then in that same logic, we play 4 copies of Iono. And then the new card that we get from Black Bolt and White Flare, 2 copies of Hilda. So Hilda's actually a really strong supporter. So what Hilda does is you get to search your deck for an evolution Pokemon as well as an energy card and add it to your hand. So normally if you're running the Darmanitan build, you can search the Darmanitan or the Zoroark and get the reversal energy if you need it. But since we cut it out, I still think that this card is needed because you want to find a way to dig out your Zoroarks. And the benefit of the Hilda is not only does she dig that out for you, that card, but it also gives you an energy to attach or to discard with trade, which is really nice. So you play it as a 2-of. Next, I play 2 Bosses Order and then 1 Turo Scenario. And then moving on to the items / tools / stadiums, we play 4 Buddy Buddy Poffin, along with 3 Nest Ball. I play 3 Nest Ball in this build is because I want to be able to just make sure that I fill the bench as early as possible to set it up. And this allows me to also dig for my EXs, which is important. You also play 3 Ends PP up, 2 Counter Catcher, 2 Night Stretcher, 1 Reset Stamp, and then for the tools, I play 2 Rigid Band, which makes Zoroark take 30 less damage from my opponent's attacks, 1 Technical Machine Evolution or TM Evolution, and 1 Defiance Band for the tools. And then for the stadiums, I play 2 Artisan and 2 Ends Castle. So the goal of this deck is to utilize your board setups and your and the Monkey Dory along with Zoroark in general to inflict as much damage as you can to your opponent while also spreading it around and leveraging your items and just overall board positioning to basically take control of the tempo of the game. So that's why you want Rigid Band, in the deck, because a lot of decks want to one shot the Zoroark, because any damage counter above, I think, was it if I'm the numbers correct, 14 and above, make puts them in a danger zone for Zoroark to just revenge kill after one single hit. So what they try to do is try to find ways to either chunk it down with little damage as possible while letting it stack, or just quickly just one shotting it. And then the belt helps. The rigid band makes the math much more tricky. So if they can't get the knockout, the Zoroark can just go in and knock out the attacking Pokemon with ease with powerful rage. So I decided to take out the Darmanitan because I wanted this deck to flow more consistently and focus on basically letting Zoroark swing for big numbers to either 2-hit KO, 1-hit KO my opponent's Pokemon, and quickly just take control of the game from there. And the benefit with this deck is it's not your typical aggression deck, because you have to kind of play it very mid-range, because if you play too far ahead and you don't have a way to maintain that early game advantage, you will get punished with really easy. So I often play this deck like a very mid-range deck, where I try to either play it slow if possible, but if I'm going up against decks that can actually one-hit KO, I have to play it as fast as I can and taking out critical KOs one at a time. So you have to be very careful with this deck. I would say if you're going to play this deck, the hardest matchups are going to be the Raging Bolt matchup. Raging Bolt is very difficult because of the Teal Mask Ogerpon, which can easily one-shot the Zoroark if you put energy onto it. So you have to be very careful on the timing and when you put energy, because if you put it too early and they get 3 energy, easy knockout even with the rigid band. So you want to kind of time when to kind of do things. Ideally you want to attack with the more smaller hit like Badoo and Maractus. I am trying to find other resources to put in the deck to kind of serve as substitute attackers to help this deck kind of play against those matchups. But really it is its hardest matchup, and then Terra Box, because once again the Teal Mask Ogerpon is a huge threat to the deck. Anything that has grass attackers that hit really big, like this deck has a hard time with. But I think your easiest matchups from my testing is basically Joltik Box is actually a pretty easy matchup if you know it. Once you know their choke points. Gardevoir is an easy mop up, and you actually have a really good Dragapult matchup, as well as surprisingly I've actually had an easier, since playing this specific build, an easier time dealing with Marnie's Grimmsnarl deck, because of how the rigid band makes Zoroark hit tank hits, and the only way they can essentially beat me is if they rely on TM devolution. And if you position your attacks right and you just focus on early game item locking with Badoo and then bouncing the damage counters back, your Zoroarks can clean up the board very easily. And that's the problem with the Marnie's Grimmsnarl, is once you kind of disrupt their flow, it's hard for them to build back up that momentum in order to clean the game out. But I wouldn't say it's the easiest matchup. It's still a 50-50 in my opinion. It's just how you navigate the matchup with this deck makes a lot of difference. Like from my experiences, I've been playing a lot of Marnies. The only time I lose is if I misplay in spreading the damage or missing a line, or overlooking a line of play that could get me the win. So you have to that's one thing I like about Zoroark. It's a deck that you can't just slap together and expect to do well, because of how good the engine is. It's a deck that requires you to actually think about how to like position your board, how to maneuver your not how to how to when to strategically attack, and the strategic placement of damage counters. So if you can understand that, you will have an easier time. Hence why I'm a big supporter of this deck, and whenever I see it like get to the high, like the top 8 cutoff, like at NAIC, like one Zoroark makes it, it just proves my point. Like the deck requires you to play like almost near perfectly with how well you sequence your plays in order to get to that point. And that's one of the reasons why I've been kind of stuck on this deck, is because whenever I do play well, it rewards me, and then when I don't play well, I have to learn from it. And it's a deck that really teaches you the importance of reflecting on your matches and constantly look, like always constantly reflect on those games, and also constantly reflect on your deck, because if your deck isn't properly built, it's not going to help you. So thank you for sticking along with me with this video. I am going to be doing if you guys want me to do a comprehensive video regarding this deck, please leave a comment below. I will be doing deck profile on Marco soon, so I'll happily do that for you guys. And I'm also going to be doing another Vice Shorts deck in the near future. And one thing I might be considering doing, if anybody wants, I've been thinking about doing some coaching if you guys want to know how to play the game, both Pokemon and Weiss, because I have a lot of experience with this game, and I wouldn't say I'm the best, but I'm pretty good. Like if I had the opportunity, I'd probably go more towards the competitive side and see how well I do. But hopefully maybe my vending business will give me that opportunity to do so. So once again, this is Platinum Point. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. False crack that like button. And don't forget to stay on point, guys. Peace out.